Hi, and welcome to our Good Vibrations podcast for this week. And it will be reaching you on the 16th of February. And I thought I would really talk about um, the year of the dragon. I had a live talk um, with a wonderful group of people who are all dragon people like myself, but my birthday lands on the dragon year. So we're all really excited to be sharing how excited we actually were. Um, and during that sort of conversation, we sort of looked at different dynamics of what it means to be a dragon, the type of personality that you are. But what was really interesting was my take on the elemental aspect of the Chinese New Year, because every Chinese New Year, not only does it have an animal, but it has an element as well. And with the element this year being wood, that really intrigued um, the conversation. And so all of these dragons were asking about, well, what does that mean for me? So I thought I would just do a little bit of a podcast on what we discussed. So here we go. So the dragon in Chinese culture is a mythical, auspicious, extreme, supreme being. So because it is an animal that is not of our typical earthbound animals, it's seen as something is extremely lucky. And there's a huge amount of fanfare when it comes to the dragon year, because obviously it comes around once every 12 years. And there's a real build up to the dragon energy with the dragon dance and the drumming and just everything to do with dragons. So it's really revered. It's a really revered animal. And the thing we need to remember about dragons, because they are a mythical creature, they they come in different forms and they interact with the different elements. So we have not only our water dragons, those are the more serpent like dragons. We've got our fire dragons, winged dragons, and then we have our earthbound dragons. So they sort of fit in with the elements, if you will. And for this year, we have the wood dragon, which is definitely an earthbound dragon. But who are we? Who are we? Are the dragon people? Who are we? Dragon people are seen to have characteristics of great leaders. And so in ancient times, anyone born in the dragon year were regarded as regal, sons of the heavens above, but they tend to be really dynamic personalities, powerful people, if you will. So they're really confident, ambitious, adventurous. They're really strong willed and passionate. So I can certainly see aspects of that in my own personality. I don't know about the adventurous part, but I can certainly see that strong willed part and having excellent leadership qualities. And I know for myself, I certainly moved from shop floor into management, into regional management, and so on. So being a manager, being a negotiator, someone that can really negotiate around people's circumstances is certainly something I have developed over the years, definitely developed over the years. The other thing about dragon people, they tend to have an air of authority, power around them. And they tend to be successful in their careers, and that's part of their ambition. And so, definitely for myself, um, being told that I would be only suitable for shop work, it was just like, okay. But I then actually went on to become an assistant manager and a shop manager, then an area manager, then a regional manager, and then a national manager. So, definitely, yes, that was maybe not something that would be highly regarded in terms of a career, but I certainly had that ambition to push my way up in through the different levels of being in a retail environment. And they are also said to have great imaginations. Um, they're quite charismatic, have imagination, and they have a great sense of justice. So, what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. And I'm not necessarily a black and white person. I can sort of take a step back and look at the gray areas in life and see how that could be applied to certain circumstances. But I certainly do right any wrongs that I personally do, because I feel that is only right. I do own my mistakes, and I do, um, I suppose, try and make up for any errors of judgment that I have created, so that the person that I've impacted or infected can feel a sense of alleviation from any distress that I've sort of given to them, either consciously or unconsciously. One of the things we do struggle with as a dragon is our impulsive traits. I can be very impulsive, especially when it comes to shopping. So, and of course, that's a Leo thing as well. But so I have to really temper myself in terms of, do I actually really need that? Can I actually take a step back and just let some time lapse before I rush in, and sort of spend my money? We can be really stubborn, and I can get angry. It takes a lot for me to become angry, but it's part of that dragon energy where we sort of breathe fire around everyone and on everyone around us. And I think that because we are so passionate and we get so involved in our careers and we get so involved in what's going on around us, we can be prone to overworking, and we can be prone to being really hard on ourselves. And I think it's something we need to really find that balance. We need to create balance in our lives and not give everything and anything to our work process, our ambition. We need to pull some of that back. So the dragon energy is quite complex. It's a really positive energy, and the dragon itself is a really strong energy. So I would say that all of the dragon people that I know, and I know lots of them because we're all Leos as well, that are in my circle of friends, I can actually see the quality. If I was to reflect on the people around me, I can absolutely see the quality of not only that Leoness, but then the dragon energy as well. So pause for thought there, things for you to think about and to reflect on with yourself. But the wood element was really fascinating in this online live chat and meditation with the dragon energy. So the wood energy this year is solid wood. Sometimes um, in the Chinese New Year, you'll have a green wood, which is young sapling wood. So it hasn't quite fully blossomed into a tree or a branch. So it's still developing. It's shape it can be shaped, if you will. So it has that flexibility, whereas wood, which this year is just solid wood, it's very firm, very solid, and it has established itself. So we need to look at ourselves in terms of, do we feel that we've established ourselves? How are we feeling about where we are right now in our lives? Because the wood in influence is always constantly reaching upwards and outwards. So if we think about a tree, we are looking at a tree and we're seeing the branches stretching out from the trunk of the tree, but always going upwards. So that in itself is an indication that this year we might be changing direction, going upwards, being influenced to keep moving and keep changing. And that comes into possibly that realms of ambition, and shape-shifting, because dragons are shapeshifters. As I said at the start, we have the fire, the water, and the winged dragons. So it can be all or everything of all of those aspects. So with wood, we need to be really clear about our goal. So this year in particular, get that business plan, be it a personal business plan for yourself. What is it that you personally want to achieve? Is it a new food regime, a new job, new home, new partner, whatever that happens to be, new skill, education? Make a plan and the roadmap of how you're going to achieve those goals, because that's what we really need to know. We need to know in what direction are we going. Is it straight up the tree, or are we branching out from the main support mechanism? Also, in terms of your decision making, when you have a plan, you can make decisions from a really informed perspective. So, with a personal plan, not even a business plan, but with a personal plan, and we are making informed decisions, it's really it's really important that that plan is there so that we can measure our decision making against the plan that we have. And we're not then branching off on a little branch. We're not getting distracted by a teeny tiny branch off of the big branch, off of the trunk of the tree. I have to say, the students on the live talk were really intrigued by this concept. They'd never really thought about the element that goes with the actual animal for the year. We all understand dragons are strong, they're fierce, they're fiery, they hold wisdom, they're revered as holding wisdom. But when we couple that with the tree energy, there's a completely different mindscape comes in terms of what we might expect for the year to come. So we need to balance ourselves, and we need to be sure that yes, we can thrive under pressure, but we need to make sure that the pressure doesn't break the wood, that we're not broken by that pressure. And that even though we are hardworking, we again can allow ourselves some downtime, some pleasure time, giving ourselves permission to step back from that. When I discussed this whole concept with the wonderful team of people globally, one of the things I got them to think about was, if they were a tree, well, what kind of tree would they be? And that got them really talking about the type of tree that they would be. So for me, I always love oak trees. That's my absolute joy. I really love the shape of the leaves. I love the strength in the trunk of an oak tree. I love the branches. I love the acorns and how it feeds not only the animals around us, but from little acorns, big acorns can grow, big trees can grow. And that really excites me about an oak tree. And I feel that with oak, in terms of the wood itself, it's so strong and durable, and it's multifunctional, that that really, it just resonates with me. And for some people it was cedar, some it was cherry, some people it was pine, some it was an aspen. People had different ideas about what kind of tree that they would be, and I think that was sort of measured against the environments that they were living in, because it truly was a global audience. So maybe that's something for those of you listening to this podcast could maybe think about. If I was a tree, what would my characteristics be if I was a tree? And I also talked a little bit about the Native Americans, and how they themselves really revered trees, like really revered them, and they called them the standing people. They saw them as living beings who watched over us. They heard all of our words, our thoughts, our feelings. They, when they took a tree down, they would ask for permission. They would offer tobacco as an honorable gift to that tree for giving its life. And then when they manufactured things, tools, home items, whatever they were making, there was a real reverence to how that wood supported them. And I think in our commercial world, we actually forget that, we're sitting looking at wood, whether it's your TV cabinet or a dining room chair, dining room table, or your garden furniture. Even behind the walls, behind the plasterboard, there is wood there. That structure, that skeleton of your home is serving a purpose. And the wood has given its life to do that for you. And when we discussed this with the group, there was a real sense of connection in taking a look around and actually thanking the wood, the books of shelves and the trees, etc., because that was a living thing at one point, and it has great wisdom, and it has that DNA wisdom that we forget is stored within the tree, within the standing people. And so that's something, if you're really interested in folklore or tradition or belief systems, you could certainly delve into um, how the standing people were reflected in Native American culture and the different woods and the different uses that they had, and the reverence for that. And I felt that that was really important to share with the students. I certainly share it in a course that I teach every now and then called The Sacred Path. And the standing people are part of that. They are part of that course. And it always has a really deep meaning for the students who attend. So we talked about the wood aspect. We then talked about the body, the physical aspect, because the dragon energy and the wood in particular, is the ruler of the liver and the gallbladder, which is really interesting for my own personal journey because I've started working with my naturopath in December last year on supporting my missing gallbladder and my liver function, which I hadn't realized was possibly getting me ready for the start of the Chinese New Year on the 10th of February. And the liver and the gallbladder, that tiny little pocket that has the bile that then helps process our food, is seen as the general of the body. It just aids so many things within the body. It just gets the body working correctly. So having that working correctly is absolutely key. So if you're like myself and you don't have a gallbladder, then a little bit of cinnamon on with apple or cinnamon in your shake or your smoothie or whatever on a daily basis will definitely help compensate for that lack of organ. And then we have the liver itself, the liver, which basically digests and cleanses the blood system. It's that really rich organ. And the liver is where we hold our frustration, anger, resentment, jealousy. And so we need to be really careful in how we manage our feelings this year. We have to be careful that as dragons, we're not prone to going into those raging episodes that we possibly could be doing, that if we do have anger in our hearts, well, where does that come from? Because it belongs to us. It won't belong to the person that we're angry at. They're just being who they need to be, and they've impacted or affected an emotion in us, which is anger. So we need to really be mindful about how we deal with our anger quickly and effectively so that we're not going to overburden the liver as an organ. And maybe now is a time for us as dragons, in particular, in this wood year, to do some forgiveness rituals, to just let go of that bone of contention, that chip on the shoulder, all of those things that we say. Maybe this is the year of going into deep forgiveness, because 9 times out of 10, the other person isn't feeling your rage or your anger. Only you are feeling all of that. So even if you were to write a letter and then burn it and the forgiveness process is done, you're taking that out of your system and you're externalizing it and then letting it go. We need to let it go. And I'm always reminded of a really funny scene in The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon is struggling with letting go a sense of anger, and Penny demonstrates it by getting him to pick up a pen, seeing all that emotion pen, and then he can just put the pen down and he's let it go. And I really love that scene. I think it's a really wonderful lesson for us all in a really simplistic term, a really simplistic way of letting go of our anger. So I know for myself, I can actually see some of the things because I can hold a grudge, like the best of us. And I can see how I've just actually made a decision just yesterday, and I'm already feeling, oh, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I don't need to be that person anymore. I can be the better version of myself. So, dragon energy is just amazing. Some of the things to remember, I'm just moving my notes there. Some of the things to remember is how we can surround ourselves with dragon energy. So you can have some feng shui little emblems with the dragon and the rooster together. The rooster is your opponent. So the dragon is the positive aspect, but sometimes it goes into the negative aspect. And so the rooster, a feng shui rooster, either just print a picture off of a rooster and have them dotted around your house, or buy a rooster, put it on your key ring, etc. It will keep negativity at bay, so you won't be as impacted by negative energy. So that's the opponent. The feng shui opponent to the dragon is the feng shui rooster. The lucky numbers are 1, 6, and 7, and any combination thereof. So it could be 16, it could be 67, 76, 17, 71, 61, any combination of all of those. So those are our lucky numbers. So remember to, if you're moving house, look at the numbers. If you're buying a lottery ticket, look at your numbers. Remember to include these numbers. And also remember to look at June and July, the months of June and July. We've passed January, but we've got January 2025 to come. But think about those months, and also think about the 1st, the 6th, and the 7th, and also think about the 16th and the 17th as well in those months. So you can juggle those numbers around just so that you get the best all out of our lucky numbers this year. Our lucky colors are gold is the primary lucky color. Then we have silver, and then we have grayish white. So having something gold around you in your handbag, gold color, a gold piece of jewelry, is really, really good. So just thinking about those colors. And then the lucky flowers for this whole year is bleeding heart glory flower, which is a really beautiful big blossom, and then dragon flowers, which coincidentally, and I don't know how it happened, the front garden is just randomly being populated by dragon flowers. I don't know where they came from. They're in all different colors and they're just self-seeding. So next year in springtime, I'm going to have this wonderful display of dragon flowers within the garden. So that's quite exciting and quite auspicious that they've landed in our garden from wherever. Maybe a bird has dropped some seeds or something. I'm not quite sure. So that is my take on the dragon energy, you as a person, the wood energy, the physical impact, and some of the things we could look at. And I'm hoping that if you are a dragon, that you really embrace your year. Remember, it doesn't come around very often, and it's supposed to be a really lucky, auspicious year. So embrace the dragon energy to the fullest extent that you possibly can so that you really feel that you're going to get the absolute best out of the next 12 months as we sail through into January, February next year. So, as promised at the very start of the podcast in January, I thought I would read out my little messages from my friendship diary for this year. And so today's message, which is just wonderful, they're always wonderful, I have to say. So today's message is you are the hero of your story. You are the hero of your story. And I think that's really going to be reflective of the whole year forward as we step into our dragon power, our dragon energy. But also, I think it's important that we recognize ourselves as individuals and that we recognize we do have personal power. We recognize that we can and do know how to support ourselves because quite often we go back into times, we regress back into times when we didn't have the right skills, we felt lonely or we felt abandoned or we felt hurt or we felt pain. And we forget that the journey that we've taken from those times to become the person that we are the hero in our story. So we need to really own that. And if there are aspects of your personality that are not quite gelling with you, for me, it's the whole forgiveness thing this year, doing that on a deeper level and letting go. Then make those changes. Identify with other people who you see as heroes and what is it that they do that you feel you could emulate so you become the hero of your own story. You're the main character. Regardless of who is around you or who you're attached to, you are the main character. So give yourself that top billing and be proud of who you are. Be really proud of who you are. So that is our message today from my friendship calendar here on my recording desk. Until the next time, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. Love to hear your messages, your feedback on today's Good Vibrations podcast. But until the next time, you're listening to me, Phyllis Brown, down here in the very, very hot New Zealand summer weather. Until the next time, take care for now. Bye for now.